With me is author and filmmaker Robert Emenegger and former security manager and chief of requirements for the audiovisual program at Norton Air Force Base, Paul Schartle. Gentlemen, Mr. Emenegger, how did you get involved with UFOs?
Well, it was in 1973 when I was vice president at Gray Advertising, and I took time out and went to Norton Air Force Base to explore subjects for television specials related to the Defense Department. While discussing several of the subjects, UFOs came up, and Paul here told us about a film of a landing of alien crafts at Holloman Air Force Base about 3 years earlier.
What did you see, Mr. Schartle?
I saw footage of 3 dish-shaped crafts. One of the craft landed and 2 of them went away.
Why did it land?
It appeared to be in trouble because it oscillated all the way down to the ground. However, it did land on 3 pods. A sliding door opened, a ramp was extended, and out came 3 aliens.
What did they look like?
Well, they were human-sized. They had odd gray complexion and a pronounced nose. They wore tight-fitting jumpsuits, thin headdresses that appeared to be communication devices, and in their hands they held a translator, I was told. A Holloman base commander and other Air Force officers went out to meet them.
You actually saw these aliens on the film?
Yes.
This film footage sounded very, very special, and we wanted to use it as the ending of our television special.
And did you? Was it in your special?
Well, although the Pentagon had been very, very cooperative all the way, at the last minute the film was confiscated and we lost the whole finale of our show. But what I saw and heard was enough to convince me that, you know, the phenomenon of UFOs is real, very real.
Mr. Schartle, what did your superior officers tell you?
I was told it was theatrical footage the Air Force has purchased to make a training film.
Well, that sounds plausible, doesn't it?
Well, if it were a theatrical film, why didn't I have a record of this? It was my job to keep accurate records of all audiovisual purchases.
Is there any other reason that you feel this was not a theatrical film?
Yes, it was too real. The people who were shooting that day were Air Force personnel. Lucky for us, the day they were shooting, they were doing an acceleration test.
Yeah, well, it's too bad we couldn't get that footage from the Air Force. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us.
Paul Shartle is the one who took us in there and said, what would you think if we told you we had a landing at Holloman Air Force Base of an alien craft, and it was filmed by our TDY, our temporary duty guys, and the film was sent here to Norton, where all films usually are sent. And I thought, this sounds outrageous, that, UFOs and all. He said, well, look, if you're interested, check with the Pentagon, but bury those under those other projects because it's a red flag to get into the subject of UFOs. George Weinbrenner was the commander of foreign technology. He has a private bunker down at Wright-Patterson. I went down the long hall, I could see all the little cameras, surveillance cameras, walked right up to his desk and said, I want to ask you, what about the landing of an alien craft at Holloman Air Force Base? And I sort of expected him to say, what? The what? He didn't. So he reached up, pulled out a book, handed it to me. So I opened the book up and it said, to my friend, Colonel George Weinbrenner, signed Dr. Alan Hynek, and the book was all on UFOs. Well, Hynek was the scientific advisor to the Air Force at that time on UFOs.
And in 1973, they go to Bob Emenegger and Alan Sandler, two producers in Los Angeles, and they ask them to do a UFO documentary. They have 8 documentaries, defense documentaries, and at the end, we want you to do this other one on UFOs. And Bob Emenegger is a total UFO skeptic, said, what do you mean this is for real? And at that point, the security manager, Paul Shartle, at Norton Air Force Base said, what would you say if I told you that we had landed, that an alien ship landed at Holloman Air Force Base, 6 o'clock in the morning in May of 1971, and we filmed it from 3 different vantage points, 2 on the ground, 1 in a helicopter, and we will allow you to use the film for your documentary. And then what happens at the end of the documentary is they say, we can't use the film. We can't allow, it's the Watergate, it's bad timing, we can't allow you to use the film, and they pull the film. At least that's what I thought. Then when the film gets released, it's a documentary called UFOs, Past, Present, and Future. And then they put the documentary out, and then I find out that there's 8 seconds of the Holloman Air Force Base film in the film. Mm-hmm. So Bob's my friend. I phone him up, Bob, there's 8 seconds of film in there. And he goes, well, yeah. And I said, you told me they pulled the film. You told me it was sent back to the Pentagon. And he said, well, it did. And he told me this whole story about the guy going across the country in this small Datsun, taking the film back to the Pentagon. I said, but there's 8 seconds of film in the documentary. And then he said the key words. He said, but it didn't show anything. And I said, oh no, he said, it's background. And I said, background? What do you mean it's background? And he said, it didn't show anything. And what it is you see the hills of Holloman, and you see this object, this brilliantly lit object at 6 o'clock in the morning coming over the hills, but it's in a distance. So you don't see it close up, and you don't see the alien when the alien gets out. That's the classified part. So they want you to know that Holloman happened, and they allowed them to use the 8 seconds of the film, but the rest of the film, the classified part, was pulled.
Make contact with him, Bill.
This is Holloman Air Force Base Control Tower. Identify yourself. What's your tail number? You're encroaching on military airspace.
142, turn left. I see him over there. Check with Edwards. Make contact with him, Bill.
This is Holloman Air Force Base Control Tower. Identify yourself. What's your tail number? You're encroaching on military airspace. Warning, identify yourself. You're encroaching on military airspace. Warning identified on military airspace.
It seems almost certain that if other beings more advanced than ourselves do inhabit other sectors of the universe, then it's quite probable there will come that day, that moment in time, when official contact will be made. Let's look at an incident that might happen in the future, or perhaps could have happened already.